Has managing large groups of people for projects been a pain in your rear end? Are you tired of having to spam message your classmates Rick, Wanda, and Brad to finish filming their part for a class video due that same night? If you answered yes to any of these questions, fear not. High school is a time of confusion and panic for everybody at some point, and gaining adequate leadership skills can be one of the most daunting challenges to face outside of your comfort zone. However, with the proper guidance and advice, managing groups of people to serve a single purpose can be done effortlessly and efficiently. Here are some tips, proven valid by human psychology and neuroscience studies, which can help guide you to become much more knowledgeable, capable, and reliable as both a leader and an individual ready to face the hurdles life and high school throws at you. Similar to many of the greatest leaders throughout history, who have succeeded within the political and wartime settings, it's essential that as an individual who strives to take more charge, you're able to properly handle the resources that you're predisposed to. Particularly, this means that you should be able to effectively utilize the varied skill sets of the people within your group environment. To clarify this concept, the purpose of properly dispersing tasks is similar in nature to the purpose of the ethical guidelines imposed by the APA, or American Psychological Association. These guidelines are inform, consent, debrief, and safety. Typically, the APA guidelines are strictly set in place within psychological studies and experiments in order to suitably protect the integrity and safety of participants' mental and physical health. So, by conducting these group activities with a similarly based nature of equality and fairness, the person in charge is able to complete their tasks at hand effectively by utilizing the varied skill set of the group, and is also additionally able to establish strong rapport and camaraderie between each of the members to himself or herself. Ultimately, by replicating these conditions within group projects and activities, you will be able to give off an ideal impression of integrity to your teammates as a leader, and it'll make you seem a more respectable and morally resolute individual overall. In addition to properly carrying out group assignments using ethical practices, any good leader needs ample practice in an activity that most humans spend about a third of their lifetime doing: sleeping. Regardless of how productive you may think you are when you're up on 6 Red Bulls pulling an all-nighter, a proper sleeping schedule of about 8 hours per night is essential in facilitating ideal mind development and mental growth for when the daytime hours come back. But you may have wondered, how come my focus naturally restores overnight, even when I'm not doing anything except dreaming? Well, while it is common to think that the mind is simply inactive and resting during a period of sleep, this is actually not necessarily true. Although there are major periods of time within the sleep cycle where the mind is at rest, there are one or more short bursts of time known as REM, or rapid eye movement periods. During this particular stage, the brain generally displays patterns of activity which are extremely similar to brain patterns present during the daytime, carrying out dreams and essentially functioning as a mental reset button. This stage is meant to effectively integrate memories from days prior and refresh the mind to be ready and mentally alert for the upcoming day. And in addition to these natural benefits, properly carrying out healthy sleeping habits can actually translate directly into effective leadership. According to Harvard Business Review, managers who practice healthy sleeping sustain better and more consolidated relationships with their workers within the workplace. Time and time again, these psychological and brain sciences have proven that sleep can lead an individual to make better relationships with others around them and themselves. So, in order to lead, you must heed your body's health needs and get some proper shut-eye.
In order to lead a group of individuals, you must have a positive perception. Perception is the organization, identification, and interpretation of sensory information that helps you represent and understand presented information or environment. Leaders must be able to inspire and influence their group members to take positive actions. Let's go over the 5 stages of perception. The first stage is stimulation, which refers to us being aware of what makes us feel good and bad. The second stage is organization, which refers to how we mentally arrange information into meaningful and digestible patterns. The third stage is interpretation evaluation, which refers to what helps us differentiate whether or not the stimuli we are evaluating is good or bad. The fourth stage is memory, which refers to you storing the information and interpretations. The final stage is recall, which refers to bringing up information you have stored in your memory. To obtain a positive perception, it is important to become more perceptive to the positives of a particular scenario rather than the negatives. Looking at everything through a positive perception helps motivate your group through the pros and will ultimately help your group work in a higher degree of productivity. Being able to help positive perception through the listed 5 aspects will not only make you better at being aware of your surroundings, but also a great leader.
To be a leader, you must be someone that people are willing to follow. More often than not, people are inclined to support you if you show some sort of intelligence. Basically, you need to know your stuff. You need to read the news. You need to know what's going on in the world. Getting the motivation to learn some general knowledge or read the news might be hard at first, but trust me, it'll help in the long run. Using something called Operant Conditioning will ensure motivation to learn about new concepts. Psychologist B.F. Skinner conducted extensive studies on this and showed that scheduled rewards were more effective to create and enforce a specific behavior. He proved that giving yourself a reward after a behavior will make you want to repeat the behavior more often. However, this reward must mean something to you. For example, promising yourself a nice dinner when you're going out every weekend anyway might not work as well as getting that new phone you've always wanted. You know yourself the best, making sure you're aware of what buttons to press when you're enticing yourself to study. Doing this constantly will get you to learn more about the world while at the same time showing others that you could be a great leader. One of the greatest strengths a leader can have is the ability to be aware of their surroundings. Believe it or not, any good leader listens and pays close attention to what's happening around them. This is not to invade privacy, but more to make sure they know how to act in front of different people. Eventually, those experiences and interactions will aid in the performance of a task without conscious awareness of these previous experiences. This is called implicit memory. Basically, you're creating memories unconsciously of certain situations. To break it down, by using implicit memory, you manage your own behavior, while at the same time avoid reacting to someone else's unreasonable behavior. For example, if you see one of your coworkers acting more aggressive than usual, maybe because they lost a loved one, make sure to be aware of that when you talk to them. Speaking to them while being aware of that will allow you to not unnecessarily get mad at them and show that you actually care about your coworkers. The bottom line is to always remember what happens around you and be aware of your surroundings.
Finally, in order to be an exceptional leader, you must understand who your group members are and how they respond to certain situations. It is also important to know what the developmental theory is and what the stages of development are in order to cater the maturity and development levels that your teammates are currently in. Erickson's developmental theory states that personality develops in a predetermined order through 8 stages. The 8 stages include trust versus mistrust, autonomy versus shame and doubt, initiative versus guilt, industry versus inferiority, identity versus role confusion, intimacy versus isolation, generativity versus stagnation, and ego integrity versus despair. High school students fall under the category of identity versus role confusion. This stage includes how adolescents explore sexual and occupational identity as well as develop their own values. By verbally expressing your knowledge that individuals within this stage go through, which include many personal challenges of their own beyond their assignments, you can be perceived as a more trusted, respected, and empathetic person overall. Understanding these challenges will not only allow you to create better timings for completing assignments which do not interfere with your group members' interests in resolving their confusions related to sexual and occupational identity issues. This strengthened relationship can lead to increased productivity with you serving as a capable leader.
In conclusion, there are 6 easy methods to have the best shot at becoming an effective leader. Divide tasks among your teammates, maintain an adequate sleep cycle, follow the stages of perception, learn about what's happening in the world, be aware of your surroundings, and understand your teammates. Through these proven methods, you will be able to become a leader in no time. Thanks for watching.